Attention! We are going to introduce you to the work of hackers in the real world, so that you could recognize an attack in time and be able to protect yourself against it. Or even better, to prevent it. Forewarned is forearmed. So that the actions shown in our video cannot be copied, we have hidden some of the commands, the names of the programs are obscured, and key parts of the procedures are omitted. We are not hackers, we are specialists in cybersecurity. We hope this is an interesting and useful watch for you. Cyprus, the Netherlands, Germany. The hacker is on the move in search of a victim. He's interested in the RJ45 twisted pair. It could be in a residential building or in an office building. The main thing is that the cable is publicly available and there are no witnesses nearby. Not here, and that's not it either. But here it's open. The basement. We're going down. Yes, this is it. That's what he needs. Today, I will tell you and show you how sniffing with a twisted pair works and why it can be dangerous. Sniffing is a type of attack which involves listening in on information transmitted over the internet. Someone with ill intent could, with the help of a special device or software, listen to traffic and see in real time what is coming into and leaving the computer. Your passwords, documents, photographs, anything could end up in the hands of another person. For some reason, people believe that this requires some special expensive equipment. But I'll show you how easy it is to listen into traffic on the internet. And most importantly, I'll tell you how to protect yourself against it. This video was created by the Sumsub verification platform, but more about Sumsub in a bit. Let's start with the theory. This is an RJ45 cable. It's perhaps the most common internet cable in the world. Yes, now optics are the most widely used, but the good old twisted pair cabling can still be found in almost every home or office corridor. So let's take a closer look. Inside our RJ45, we can see 4 cables of differing colors. Each pair is made up of 2 wires twisted together. Each wire has its own role. Green TX, data transmission; orange RX, data reception; blue DC+, allows positive flow of power and data at 1000 megabits a second; brown DC-, allows negative flow of power and data at 1000 megabits a second. Incoming and outgoing network traffic goes through a certain pair of cores, and the bytes themselves are encoded by simply changing the characteristics of the electrical signal in them. In order to understand the principles of data interception in this situation, let's briefly explain how it passes through the wires. An electric pulse with a frequency of several hundred megahertz goes through the wire. 100, 250 megahertz, 500, and even more megahertz, on several pairs of wires at once. And why pairs? And how can we determine the signal strength? After all, there is no level by itself. The level is always relative to something else. For example, our measure of the water level during a flood is as to whether the water has flooded its banks. Each signal level corresponds to its own voltage between 2 twisted wires. The voltage is low, 1 to 2 volts, like in a conventional battery. And when we want to transmit data, our network card begins to slightly change the voltage in the pair of cables, then half a volt more, then less, then making it positive, then negative, and so on and so forth. But all this happens very, very quickly, millions of times per second. On the receiving side, the voltage change is recorded by the same network card and it restores the information we transmit using a particular logic, a lot like Morse code. So now we know how information is transmitted. But how can it be intercepted? Once the signal is transmitted through the wires by changing the electrical characteristics or voltage, we can connect to these very same wires in a similar way to a multimeter, which measures the voltage, without disconnecting from the internet. The hacker takes a piece of twisted pair consisting of just 2 cores. You can make it by yourself, buy it on Amazon or in a local store, or modify a patch cord laying around at home. Let's do everything as a real hacker would. We'll take it and cut a little piece. Now, we are only interested in the RX pair, the first and second cores. And yes, we are only interested in the RX pair, our reception wires, because if we tried to transmit some data, we could end up accidentally breaking the connection for a while. And why would we want to do that? we should be invisible. Our task is to listen. On the other end, we connect the first and second wires with ordinary crocodile clips, so we end up with a cable like this. We'll check how this works on the testbed that we put together, specially for this experiment. So, this is the victim's computer. Let's imagine that it's sitting in an apartment from which a twisted pair comes out. And this is the computer where the victim's information is being sent. In real life, instead of this computer, there'll be network equipment, a switchboard for example. We're only using 2 computers for the sake of testbed in order to make it clearer. And we're squeezing in just here. Classic man in the middle. The hacker cuts the outer body of the wire slightly with a stationary knife. The cut is parallel to wires so as to not accidentally cut them. It's not necessary to remove the insulation directly from the wires themselves. It's enough to just slightly squeeze the crocodile clips, and they will pinch the insulation at the points of contact. The attacker presses on the clips until the packets are displayed on the sniffer of the network card, where the reverse end of our wire is connected. If a hacker wants to listen to outgoing traffic, he connects to the orange pair, and if incoming, then to the green one. We'll do both to show the full extent of danger of this kind of attack. So, we're going to listen to the outgoing traffic. In this case, the hacker is connected using an Android phone. Some external network cards can be automatically recognized by Android, so no action is required from a hacker, except perhaps having root rights. An attacker could lie in wait for hours until the victim enters a password at the other end or downloads a document of interest to him. And in order not to be stuck waiting around, phone in hand, a hacker can take any miniature single-board computer, for example, a Raspberry Pi, stick the prepared wire into it, connect a power bank, run the sniffer, and leave it like that for a day. Or he could connect to the computer remotely and view the victim's traffic while sitting in the car under the window, because almost all mini-computers have their own Wi-Fi. Let's start with passwords. It's important to understand that a hacker can only listen to unprotected traffic. Almost all modern resources support SSL and TLS (HTTPS) encryption, i.e., all data will be transmitted in encrypted form. Nevertheless, there are still many old protocols that transmit data openly and are still popular. For example, FTP or network drives. They are most often used in the corporate sphere. Let's look at SMTP, POP3 and IMAP mail protocols for our experiment, which sometimes work without encryption. A good example is a corporate mail server, to which a user connects from home directly without a VPN. Let's say an attacker is spying on the boss of some company. He connects the crocodile clips to the twisted pair and waits. At some point, the boss decides to check his mail. His mail client authenticates this on the mail server, and the attacker sees the credentials, his username and password in plain text, as well as the address of the mail server. And this data is enough to get access to his business correspondence. Most likely, our hacker will write some script to make a traffic dump. A traffic dump is all intercepted network packets stored in a special file format. This format, PCAP, PCA-PNG, stores information about the structure of the packet, which layers, protocols are present in the packet, the MAC and IP addresses of the sender and recipient, the timestamp, as well as the transmitted data itself. By writing a traffic dump, an attacker will be able to see the data itself in addition to all meta-information, protocols, IP addresses, etc. And pretty easily too. Since in the dump, this data is presented as it is. The hacker will most likely view the intercepted data in special traffic analysis software like Wireshark. However, if our goal is to do a quick search for sensitive data like passwords and files, we can use specialized programs for this. And to automate all actions, namely configuring the network adapter for listening mode, saving a traffic dump and pulling files and credentials out of it at the same time, we use a special script. The script will not only save the traffic to a file for further analysis, but also conveniently divides the phone screen into 3 areas, each of which displays some important information. The first third of the screen shows the listened to half of the traffic using, and that's just half of the traffic, since we agreed at the very beginning that the attack only works on traffic going in one direction, either incoming or outgoing. And well, it's the most famous program among hackers and protectors of information that saves network packets to a file. A hacker may need them to study the intercepted data in more detail. The second third is the utility, which extracts credentials from the traffic. And, in a mere moment, we extracted the password hash automatically sent by the computer at the time of connection to the network drive, using simple crocodile clips. The utility is a well-known tool in narrow hacker circles, aimed at extracting credentials, passwords or their hashes for the most popular protocols. Even if the attacker intercepts the password in the form of a hash, its checksum, he can restore the original password using the brute force technique of dictionary password matching. The last third of the screen is which simply extracts files by signatures regardless of the data transfer protocol. We are all used to storing data in files, and all files usually have certain types: PDF, JPEG, ZIP, etc., often specified by the extension. However, it is not only by extension that the file type can be identified. Almost every file, more often at the very beginning, has special sequences of bytes or signatures by which programs identify them. Thus, an attacker can also identify them in network traffic. The TCP extract program does just that. It listens to network traffic, and after hearing one of the familiar signatures, it understands what type of file it is and then saves it. You can configure this program to save a certain type of file or set your signatures for a particular type of file. And now let's swap the crocodile clips around. Now we don't hear the network traffic that our victim, the boss of some large company, is transmitting. Instead, we see that the network card accepts it. We see which files he downloads. At some point, the boss decides to log onto the NAS, Network Attached Storage, to view financial reports, which only he and a couple of chief accountants have access to. And now, the hacker does too. The moment the boss downloaded confidential documents, this data was sent to his network card in open form via the very wires on which the hacker had placed a wiretap. And now, having set a special TCP extract program on the recorded traffic, he extracts the documents as they were and sees a lot of secret and confidential information, including the company's income, its excessive spending on toilet paper, and one of the documents containing bank details. Unfortunately, such wiretapping cannot be detected in any way, since no additional hops, trace routes, appear between laptops. Now, let's explain why this is possible. Let's open the command prompt. It's available in any modern operating system. For example, on Windows, we do start, run, cmd for this. Now we write the command tracertgoogle.com, and we begin to see how slowly some lines begin to be written. These are intermediate network devices, hops, that are located between your computer and the Google server. And almost always there will be several such hops between you and one or another server on the internet, only if you are not directly connected to some server. First, it will be the equipment of your home provider, then the switches of those countries through which your network traffic goes, etc. And the first hop is most likely the IP address of your home router, if you have one. So usually, in traffic interception attacks, when a hacker gets in the middle somewhere along the path of packets, his presence can be detected, but not with this attack. And now let's talk about the vulnerabilities of physical sniffing and what methods of protection to use. Firstly, the attack can be carried out from a room where there is unhindered access to the wires of a twisted pair, the corridor of an office building, or the most ordinary entrance. The key word is unhindered. It is necessary to eliminate or check the possibility of physical access to the wires that lead to your home or are located in your company. Most often, a twisted pair is found on the last mile, directly near subscriber devices. Fortunately, optics will most likely be used between houses and company offices, that is, over long distances. You can't listen to an optical cable in this way. Therefore, there are whole houses, companies, or even cities that you won't be able to listen to using this method. Secondly, it's important to note that this method of sniffing is possible only on a connection with a speed of 10 or 100 megabits a second, when 4 cores, orange and green pairs, are involved, that is, a 4-core wire. With an 8-core wire, data is transmitted differently at a speed of 1,000 megabits a second. However, even if there are all 8 cores in the wire, network cards often don't get along well with 1,000 megabits mode. For example, if we go back to our testbed, where the length of the wire is only a couple of meters and all 8 cores are available, network cards continue to work in a 100 megabits a second mode, vulnerable to wiretapping. Thus, if an attacker is faced with a twisted pair with an active connection of 1000 megabits a second, it becomes impossible to listen to traffic with 2 crocodile clips. However, you should know that hackers have a way to get around this limitation. Just cut one of the additional pairs of cores that are needed to provide a speed of 1000 megabits a second, blue or brown, and in a few seconds it will automatically downgrade to 100 megabits a second, which means wiretapping will be possible again. In addition, these pairs are used to transmit power via Power over Internet or PoE. As for PoE, it can either play into the hands of an attacker or not. On the other hand, sometimes PoE can use the additional pairs of cores, blue and brown, required for a 1000 megabit connection, thereby leaving only the 10 and 100 megabit connections vulnerable to wiretapping. But on the other hand, PoE can work without interfering with the 1000 megabit connection. In this case, the attacker can only cut one of the additional pairs of wires, but the transmitting device, the victim of a traffic listening attack, risks being left without electrical power, and the attack will be thwarted. It is important to understand that such an attack, although very dangerous, is still considered a passive attack. The criminal just listens to traffic on the fly, but he can't do anything with it, modify it, and he definitely can't take control of your computer. But thanks to the leak of confidential data that could occur as a result of listening, he can get access to all your online activities that take place unencrypted and get into your computer at a later time. Thankfully, the danger of such passive listening to traffic is greatly reduced in the era of widespread use of SSL or TLS. Today, all modern protocols, that is, almost everything that an ordinary internet user uses, is quite well protected from eavesdropping. This is exactly what SSL or TLS certificates are used for. The aim of these protocols is to ensure a secure transmission of data. At the same time, a pair of keys is used for authentication. Such a simple but effective mechanism reliably protects ordinary users from a variety of traffic interception attacks. And listening in on an internet cable is far from the only example of these attacks. A much more common example is public Wi-Fi, where anyone can listen to your traffic because it flies in all directions, including into the hacker's receiving antenna. But it is the ultimate encryption of traffic to every site, modern mail server, or cloud storage that protects you and your data from wiretapping. Nevertheless, a number of protocols still use open authentication. These are well-known network drives, FTP, and HTTP basic authentication on a proxy, and much more. Therefore, it's worth paying attention to the quality of cable laying. If we're dealing with companies, it is unacceptable to place open wires in an unmonitored place. It would also be useful to use boxes, cable channels, or hidden cable laying. As for a home user, we'd advise you to use modern secure services and watch Sumsub to stay safe in the online jungle.
Information security is the key to confronting hackers. My name's Lucas from Sumsub, and I'm here to tell you a little bit about how we protect our users' data. Sumsub is an all-in-one verification platform that secures every step of the customer's journey. Besides being compliant, we ensure that our product is a proven market leader. And that's why we often conduct independent penetration tests to identify potential weaknesses like weak authentication or insufficient error handling, sensitive information leakage, and other problems. With our solution, your company passwords will be encrypted with two-factor authentication by default, among other security measures. To eliminate any loopholes for hackers, the product is equipped with an automatic anomaly detection tool that tracks suspicious activities, such as logins from different regions, repeat password guesses. If you want to start living in a world free of hackers, well, check out our product by clicking on the link below to find